Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Spokane Real Estate Podcast, where we discuss the Spokane real estate market, news, and things going on in the area. My name is Connor Phelan, and I'm joined by Kyle Nash today. If you want to find the perfect home or discover the current home value of your home, head over to topagentteam.com by clicking on the links in the description. Also, if you have questions about refinancing or getting a mortgage, head over to toplendingteam.com or call the number in the description. Don't forget, we are giving away a Hogan's gift card today, $50 here in a couple minutes. But first, we're going to talk about some numbers. So, Kyle, why don't you inform them?
Yeah, awesome. So last week, really not much of a huge change in active listings. We had a net gain of about one. So we were at 1952 last week, and now last week we were at 1951. This week we're at 1952. So not a huge change there. However, new listings and pending listings were up just a little bit this week, so that's awesome. And then closed deals, we actually saw a significant decrease in about a net loss of 102. So again, that just means less people closing on homes because less homes went under contract about a month ago. So we're kind of seeing that follow up from 30 to 45 days ago. So that's what I got for the numbers, and we'll have this all on the screen so you can kind of follow along with that. So.
Sweet deal. So what do we got today?
So we are going to be talking, this is part 2 of our October series, and we're going to be talking about basically picking an agent, or from the start of picking an agent to closing on a home. So we're going to go through that whole process, and so I'll be asking you some questions through this, and we'll kind of answer them with each other, and I'll kind of go over what I like to do and some suggestions that I have for buyers in this market. So I will start now. So first off, what I like to do is when you are a home buyer, I think interviewing multiple agents is actually fairly important, unless you've just kind of made your mind up. I think everyone, I kind of alluded to this last week, that everyone has, they're different personalities. So, what may work for you, sometimes personalities just don't work really well together. So don't let that be a factor in you picking an agent or not. Some agents may take it personal, or maybe some clients might take it personal. If I decided that, hey, I don't think that we're going to be a great fit working together, unfortunately, I can imagine that a client would probably be frustrated. And so comment below if you think, that would be frustrating for you to hear. And it's not necessarily that I don't want to work with certain people. I think it would be, I don't think I'm a great fit, and I don't think the way that I work is going to meet the expectations that you might have. There may be another agent that works better for you. So, I'm not afraid to say that to people, because I think, when I want to respect, my time, there's certain things that, again, agents look at. We're in the service business, really. But I think clients also kind of come into this expecting that, the agent's going to be at their beck and call every minute of the day. I strictly tell people, it's like, I'm only available 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the evening. I have a family too, and Wednesdays are generally the days that I don't try to do set any appointments or anything like that in the afternoon. So I am upfront with clients about that right from the get-go. And I would say asking one day a week to have some family time is kind of, I think that's not too much to ask as I'm an agent.
Can't do it.
Nope, can't do it. I'm not going to work with you. So I'm available 24/7. Call me at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'll answer.
Yeah, good thing about that, we got 25 other agents in the
Yeah.
house. So
There might be an agent here that actually does do that. I'm not going to do that. So, So again, I think picking an agent, it's kind of a gut feeling. Within a couple minutes of meeting them, whether you're going to be a good fit working together or not. So.
Right.
So what I like to start off with is when I meet with somebody, I always kind of tell them that I've got 3 goals for a meeting. One, that we're going to set up an accurate home search, and we're going to show you homes that you want to see, not ones that you don't. Second is we are going to get you educated on the process of buying a home, regardless of your time frame and regardless of whether you've purchased a home. Times do change, and so does the process of buying a house. And lastly, that we're going to decide today at this appointment whether we're going to be a good fit working together and moving forward. So that's generally kind of the first way I go about it, especially when I'm setting up an appointment over the phone. So let's talk about actually setting up the home search, a couple things that are important about that. So I like to just mention that, again, it's got to be accurate. The MLS and what we're able to search for is only so specific. I mean, I can't search online based on like super specific criteria, whether there's a Jack and Jill bathroom or something like that. There's certain things that you just can't search for. So that's where, my goal is to get it as accurate as possible and sending over to you. And you're going to see new listings within not even 15 minutes of it going on the market. Because obviously in this market, people need to move really quickly. However, with that, my job is I view my job as a consultant, and I think there's a difference between a consultant and a salesperson. Now, is there sales involved in real estate? Yes, absolutely. But I think we're trying to get away from that sort of preconceived idea that salespeople are all bad people. Like, I don't know. When I say a salesperson, what do you think of?
I think a car salesman.
Sure. Yeah. So why is that some stigma that's been put out in the world that car salesman is a negative connotation? I've had a great time with every car salesman I've had. Yeah. So,
Well, I mean, you get those, I guess it's more the dealership where, you might buy a car that doesn't work like it's supposed to.
Yeah, you drive it off the lot and all of a sudden the check engine light's on. Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot different when you're selling a house because you get to, check out the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like something that you have to operate every day. It's obviously something you live in, but you can see where you live and walk around the house and kind of get a feel for it before you make the purchase. Whereas someone could just blow a bunch of smoke up, and sell you the car. I don't know. It's just some weird thing that I guess society.
But it exists. It's kind of a stereotype.
Right.
Exists,
and you just walk onto that car lot and it's just like they're like vultures.
Yeah,
man.
they're all just waiting for you.
I just want to look. I just want to.
And that's the difference between that versus an agent. I mean, generally, you're going to work with an agent for a little while to pick a house versus I walked on a car lot and somehow I walked off and I bought a car. It's like
that's happened to me.
Yeah, right. But that's because you're going to a car lot and you are knowing that you're looking for something, and so it's kind of one of those things. It's like you just met and that's how it happened.
Right.
Like I went to the car lot because I had an idea that I wanted to look at cars. Their job is to sell me a car, so there's somewhere in the middle that there's a yes in there, and so that's what their job is. Yeah. So they're going to sit down and they're going to put a piece of paper on there and say, okay, if I can get you this, this, and this, would you be willing to walk away with the car? And so that's where I feel like sometimes we feel like we're taken advantage of.
Right.
And so with real estate, it's hard because sometimes I would say
there's just so much to it though.
Yeah,
there's the loan process and all that stuff. It's like, man, someone like me, I have a very minimal idea about that. Whereas someone like a realtor, they do that every single day. They're keeping up with everything and understanding what's going on. So it's like hire a professional. I always say, like, you want to get your sink fixed, hire a plumber.
Right. Yeah. I know enough, but I'm not gonna guarantee it. I can't put a warranty on my sink if I need to replace it. Right.
Right. And the precautions of doing something wrong, missing something could cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's basically why getting an accurate home search set up right up front is great, because the other thing I like to do is I ask them for permission. Like, hey, if there's some houses that you send me that are not on the home search that I'm sending you, do I have your permission to, 1, ask you why, and 2, ask you, are we okay to not look at this because it's not on your home search? And then the third option is, or do we need to change your home search?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and what I think is so cool is the e-alerts. I've been looking for a new truck for probably over a year now, and I found one that hit Facebook today that went up for sale, and it's just like, it took a year for that perfect truck to come up on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's just like with the house. If you're looking in a certain area for a certain number of bedrooms, bathrooms, with the Jack and Jill bathroom.
Yeah.
It comes on the market, boom, you want to know about it right away because there's going to be a lot of other people looking for the same thing. And the faster you know about it, the faster, you can act and close.
Absolutely. And so another thing, and this is a tip that I wanted to give out to just home buyers in general, things to be aware of. Agents aren't allowed to tell you what their opinions of certain things are. So I can't tell you what my opinion, and this is actually a boilerplate sentence that I always say. If somebody's like, school districts, it's super important to me to be in a safe school district, I have to tell them, unfortunately, federal guidelines prohibit me from telling you what my opinion of a school district or an area is. So I have to refer you to certain things. And so that's just something to keep in mind, because I think there's a lot of people out there that, I look at it as, man, I'm a real estate agent and I'm trying to help clients out because that's where they want to be. But unfortunately, there was a lot of things that happened in the past, steering and things like that basically said, okay, these people shouldn't be in certain neighborhoods. We got Rip walking behind us here. That's funny. So there's certain things that we can't discuss with clients. So we have to send it out and say, hey, here's a source that you can go to actually kind of form your own opinion. So that's part of that. So that's step one, home search. Done with that. So next step would be to get pre-approved. Obviously, we got a great in-house partner lender, top lending team. They're going to help you out. If you're already working with a lender, that's fantastic. One thing, and advice that I would have is consider your agent's relationship with another lender. Because one, it's illegal for kickbacks, and so a lot of buyers think, well, oh, if I go with that agent or if I go with that lender, what, are they making extra money on the back end? No, that's illegal, so we're not doing that. However, I've developed relationships with lenders that I know I can call at 7 o'clock at night on a Sunday, and they're going to answer my phone call. Is that important to you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer? Right? That's what I would say.
Yeah, 100%.
So just consider that, because I think a lot of people, they want to go with, the big brand lender online that they can get pre-approved with right away, as opposed to somebody that I've done several deals with, and they've done a great job for me and my clients, and I would always highly refer them, just the same as I feel like I'm going to do such a great job for you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, that I would hope that you would refer me to any friends and family or anybody that that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate.
Right.
So again, second part of the process is to get pre-approved. Some people would argue that should be the first part of the process, but generally most people start their, I think the statistic was 87% of people start their home search online. So you start online, you're not pre-approved yet. Then that's when you're like, okay, I'm really interested. Now I'm going to move along and get pre-approved.
Yeah.
And then after that, once you got the home search set up, now we're actually going to start viewing homes. So this is the part that takes some time. Now, with a home search that's set up so accurately, my goal would be that you're really only seeing 3 or 4 homes on your home search before we actually see that there's actually a great option for you out there. So what I like to recommend in this market, it's really tough to do this, but what I really recommend for buyers is actually to drive by the house or the neighborhood before requesting a showing, if that's possible, if it's not already under contract. The main reason I do that is because there's so many times where, a buyer may be new to the area, or they're not familiar with Spokane or something like that. So I ask them, can you please go drive by that, maybe, towards 6-7 o'clock at night, maybe on your way home from work, take a little detour around that area, see if that's really where you want to be. I think to me that's important, because I don't want to waste each other's times to go drive out to that property, and then all of a sudden they say, I don't really want to even look. I don't want to look at the house because I don't like the area.
Right.
And then what happens is I've showed up to the house for the showing that I've already set up, because again, we need to move super quick in this market, and then they said they don't want to look at the house, and I'm like, well, now I just wasted the seller's time, your time, my time, and the listing agent's time to reach out to the seller to schedule an appointment, where you could have spent just a little bit more time, because this is one of the biggest purchases you will ever make. Mm-hmm. I would hope that maybe 20 to 30 extra minutes to go drive by the house before we actually get a showing would be a way to kind of weed that out. So does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I mean, why waste your time?
Right. So once we've identified the home that you want, then we're going to make an offer. So some tips on offers in this, and I don't know if this is, I'd rather just give tips out, because this is, I want to help all buyers out there, and I hope that they would pick me as an agent to help them out. But at the same point, if they're working with an agent, or an agent might be watching this and haven't thought of some of these ideas to sort of get an offer accepted, there's a lot of different ways to do that. Now, last week we talked about, obviously sellers are looking at certain types of financing that's more attractive than others, which is unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. When you see that a buyer might have quite a bit extra in cash reserves, that's more attractive, just because it's less risky to take that, right? So some things to consider to make your offer a little stand out a little bit more are inspection timelines. So generally the boilerplate language in a purchase and sale and inspection contingency gives you 10 days. So one thing I like to explain to all buyers too when I meet with them is time periods based on the contract. Again, this is why having somebody as an agent is important, because they're going to be able to tell you all of these things and actually calculate these timelines correctly, because that's what our license allows us to do, is interpret these contracts and fill out the blanks on the state approved forms. So with that, I'm going to lay out every timeline and when everything is due. So with an inspection timeline, anything over 5 days, you actually count calendar days. And with real estate, no time period can end on a weekend or a holiday. So what holiday did we just have yesterday? Indigenous people, Columbus Day, right?
Right.
So that day was a federal holiday. And so that counts in timelines, where if you have anything less than 5 days, it's actually business days. So if somebody got under contract over the weekend and they had to deposit their earnest money, which we'll get to in a second, which is about 2 business days. So they got something under contract Sunday, Monday doesn't count. So that's Tuesday and Wednesday. So their earnest money would be due tomorrow. So there's a lot of things like that we have to know. And that's a very common error that I see in a lot of agents when I'm doing cross sales, is they're not getting their timelines correct.
Yeah.
And so when I see that they're not getting their timelines correct, or we have arguments about the timelines, I have to think, okay, well, they're not representing their client very well, because they can't calculate timelines.
Right.
So something very important. So if you're an agent listening, I'd love to help you out if you struggle with calculating timelines or anything like that. My rule, or the rule that I've always heard is 5 days or less, business days only. Anything more, count all calendar days, and any period cannot end on a weekend or holiday. It's simple as that. You just got to memorize that, and then you're good to go. So inspection timeline, you could move that to 5 days. So 10 days is 10 calendar days. But let's say to be more attractive as an offer, you could move it to 5 days. So 5 days is 5 business days, right? So sometimes with the way holidays lay out, you could actually, depending on when you get under contract, you could actually make that 5 days last about 10 days, as much as a normal one. But when a seller looks at it, it's like, oh, it's a 5-day inspection period. If their agent isn't doing a great job to calculate that timeline out in front of them, what do you think? If I knew that I was taking advantage of holidays, so like Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving weekend is always one of those weekends to be aware of, that when you get a 10 or 5 day inspection period, depending on when you get under contract, sometimes those time periods could end on the same day.
Yeah.
So you need to have an agent that is going to be able to know, and they're competent and calculate all those timelines, especially if you're a listing agent and you're meeting with a seller and you're saying, well, this offer is more attractive than this offer. Hold on, you really need to calculate the timelines, because maybe it's not. But there might be other ways that the offer is more attractive. So speaking of, maybe think about putting some more money down as what we call as an increased down payment. So if the appraisal does end up coming back low. Now, again, this is something I don't really recommend, because, again, now you're getting into a house with negative equity. You're paying more for a house than what it's worth. That never really makes a lot of sense financially. But if you got the money and it's something that you really, really want, then sure, I mean, it's fine. So you can do that. However, again, I just don't really recommend it. I think there's other ways to make the offer a little bit more attractive. And then I think listing agents also need to understand that, if appraisal does come back low, now we have to just negotiate it. So at the end of the day, if somebody just puts a astronomical purchase price without an increased amount down, then it just looks like, okay, I'm just trying to get my foot in the door. Right. I just want you to accept my offer, and then we'll negotiate the appraisal if it comes back low later. So sometimes that happens too. And then there's some other options too. So again, I won't get into them all here. If you're interested, send me a message or comment below. I'd be more than happy to kind of go through some of those options. So yeah, you got any questions on that?
Yeah, I mean, just to sum everything up, like, what is your definition of a realtor or a real estate agent? Like, what would be your definition in 1 to 2 sentences?
Well, generally, a realtor, all we really have is a license to fill out state-approved forms. So we fill out the blanks on state-approved forms. And so what that just means is we have purchase and sale agreements. We've got, about 900 different forms through the state that we can fill out. So that's what our license allows us to do. Obviously, we do a lot more than that. So I don't really have a definition other than, our job is to make sure that it's our fiduciary responsibility to protect you and represent you to the best of our ability from contract to close. So you put me on the spot there. I don't really have a definition of a realtor. Do you have something right in front of you?
No, I don't. I do not.
Yeah.
I mean, I could pull it up. Let me try real quick. Define
nice.
realtor. And then we're going to give away this Hogan's certificate here.
Nice.
A person who acts as an agent for the sale or purchase of buildings and land, a real estate agent.
Perfect. Well, that's just kind of what I said. So nice. Quiz
deal.
me. All right. So that's step one. So that's after you've picked an agent and now you've made an offer. Now we're going to go through the rest of the process. But why don't we take a break and actually do the Hogan's giveaway, and then I'll finish this off.
Let's do it right now. All
Nice.
right. So recording the screen. All right. So we had how many comments? So to enter for this, you had to leave a comment on last week's, and we're going to do another giveaway next week for $50. So
We're going to announce where the giveaway is next week, and then the week after we'll give it away.
Yeah, what he said. So 29 comments total. Let me scroll down here to the bottom and start the raffle. And the winner is Rita Allen. Rita Allen, congratulations
Nice.
on the $50 Hogan's gift card there on the South Hill. Kyle's favorite restaurant. I've never been there, but
So good.
heard nothing but good things. So
I've got you a couple of chicken fried steaks from there before. So,
yeah, there you go. Hey, Rita, shoot us a message or email us at marketing@topagentteam.com, and we'll have this here for you at the office.
Awesome. Congrats, Rita. So, really quick, not really quick, we're probably going to finish the rest of this process. So, again, once you actually get your offer signed around, which is it's called mutual acceptance, or it's called actually ratifying a contract. Once that happens, there's a few things that need to get taken care of right away. So, earnest money and a home inspection. So, I talk about earnest money. Generally, this is for people that have rented or they're current renters, I equate it to a damage deposit. So it's the same thing as, you go to a rental and then you sign a lease and they ask for a damage deposit. You get that damage deposit back once you've finished your lease, right? So long as you didn't damage the house or do anything with it or do anything crazy or, break any terms of that lease, you get your damage deposit back for the most part, right? So that's what I like to call earnest money. Now, it's just in a much shortened time period.
Right.
So it's only within 30 to 45 days. So again, earnest money, I equate it to a damage deposit because so long as you fulfill the terms of the contract to the best of your ability, that's your good faith effort, that earnest money is going to be applied towards your closing costs at the end. Your closing costs and your down payment. So that's all lumped into what's called cash to close. So Connor, I'm going to ask you, so if you saw an offer, say average price $304,000 or $300 for rounding sakes. So you saw a offer that had $3,000 of earnest money or $1,500. Which one would be more attractive to you? If you're a seller.
Seller, $3,000.
Sure. Why is that? Why do you think?
It's more money, twice the money.
Yep. So that's great. So there's also a ton of other things though, whether an offer is going to be attractive or not. So $1,500 right up front, that's great. But what if they threw in the offer somewhere that it's non-refundable? So that the buyer's just willing to give it up, even if they can't get financing on the house. What if they just walked away?
Right.
So now is $1,500 more attractive than $3,000 if the other $3,000 didn't have that?
Like if the $3,000 wasn't refundable,
right?
Yeah. Well, then I would choose $1,500.
Right. Because then it's like, okay, even regardless if they walk away from this deal, we're going to get $1,500 as sellers for, again, the buyer not being able to fulfill.
Wait, so the $1,500 was not refundable. The $3,000.
So generally, earnest money is always refundable based on if the buyer doesn't go into default, which just means the buyer, they're doing the best of their ability to fulfill all the terms of the contract that we've thrown in there to offer to the sellers, and they've agreed to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, there's a ton of different ways, and so going back to make an offer, some other options I've done is I actually say, earnest money is to be non-refundable once the inspection has been satisfied. Because then at that point, if you don't get financing, that's fine. But at least it's a little bit more incentive to say, okay,
Right.
we're going to go through the inspection period, and if for some reason we back out at that, we still want our earnest money back. But if we don't, and we're good with the inspection, we're so confident that we're going to get financing that if we didn't get it, then you can keep that $1,500.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because, I mean, you're going to waste that person's time, and there could have been 20 other offers on the table that, you know, could have been.
And that happens. So
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does.
So speaking of home inspection, so this is the second portion. So generally, earnest money is due within 2 business days of mutual acceptance. And then home inspections can, again, boilerplate language can happen within about 10 days of mutual acceptance. What a home inspection is it's actually a neutral third party. There's a lot of people that think a home inspection is required for a purchase and sale agreement. Talk to your lender, because sometimes it is required for federally backed loans. So like FHA and VA loans, stuff like that, a government loan. They're going to require that. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's, from my knowledge, that's what happens. So those types of loans are required to have a home inspection. So they actually ask you to provide a receipt that you've paid for a home inspection.
Yeah.
So with that, what a home inspection does, or a home inspector, they basically come in and they're going to give you a report card of the house. And it's based on the age of the house to the condition of the house. So whether it's new versus old, whether it's a renovation, a remodel, or a flip, there's a big difference between all 3 of those, a renovation and a remodel and a flip. Renovation typically means that you're gutting a lot of the house and you're going to have to get permits and stuff like that to change certain things around. Remodel just means it's probably stuff that you don't need to get permits for, that it's a little bit more than just a flip of adding new carpet, new paint, stuff like that, right? So there's a big difference, and know your differences on that stuff, because when I go through houses and somebody's like, oh, this is a great flip, I'll actually tell them, actually, this is a great remodel. A flip is just, they probably didn't spend a lot of money and they're going to make a lot more money. You're getting a better bang for your buck for this type of house. So there's a little bit of a difference there. And then again, new versus old. So you're going to see a lot more items probably on an older house that hasn't really been updated. And it kind of goes without saying. But I like to mention that because home buyers in this market tend to get pretty overwhelmed by home inspections, because generally they can be anywhere from 30 to 50 pages. And next week we're going to have an inspector on the podcast. So we're actually going to have them talk about what they look for in home inspections and things like that. So again, it's kind of based on the age of the home and the condition of the home. And with that, you're going to get a report, again, 30 to 50 pages with a bunch of things that are either satisfactory, needs attention, or needs like immediate repair, or like a safety or hazard issue or safety or health issue. So what I actually like to tell people too is all these items that you get in your home inspection, label them out. So we're going to be looking for health and safety items, and then structural items. Those are going to be the things that should probably be deal breakers if the seller says no to getting those requested. Now, have I done offers, or have I done deals where the buyer doesn't ask for anything? Absolutely. Now, that home is probably in really good shape too. So if I don't see a ton of those issues, again, it's not really my ultimate recommendation. I will talk back and forth with my client about things I think would be good to ask for versus things I think would probably feel like the seller's getting nickel and dimed, especially if they got other offers on the table. But again, what I like to go over that with them and say, let's label all those big ticket items out. Let's label some of the other items that would be great to get done, but they're not deal breakers, and then the other items in 3 different categories to say, I can take care of those other smaller items, right?
Yeah, does the age of the home play any factor in that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it depends on when it was built, and so you're looking at, different types of sewer line that was installed, which that's a really common thing. If it's Orangeburg, you might as well just get it replaced, honestly. I mean, it's essentially glorified paper mache. And there are some areas of town that have that. And you can always contact the city to pull the sewer card for that house, and they should be able to kind of tell you what the connections are. So yeah, age really does affect, it affects the inspection report, and also the size of the house. Something to consider is generally your prices for a home inspection are going to go up the bigger the house is and the bigger area that they have to cover. So yeah. The next step is title. So now we're on 3. We're getting there. So title, basically, title insurance is insurance to make sure that there are enough proceeds in the property to actually cover commissions, sales and prorated taxes, any utility bills, and liens and judgments against the seller or the property. So that's the whole point of title insurance, is just to make sure that you get clean, clear, and marketable title by the time you take title to the property, so you don't move into it with any judgments on it, right? So that sometimes there are some things that will come up, and then all of a sudden the seller may not be able to cover all those proceeds. You'd hope that that would happen prior to going live, so that the listing agent has already kind of done a general, a title search, and had a prelim title report done. But sometimes that doesn't happen. So because sellers are they want to move quick in this market, and so they want to get on the market or get on the market as soon as possible and not even have that prelim done. So that's the title insurance job. So they want to make sure that's taken care of. And the fourth item is the appraisal. So if you're getting financing, once you're done with the home inspection, you want to order an appraisal, or you want to give your lender permission to order an appraisal. There's three things that can happen with an appraisal. It's one, first off, an appraiser is a neutral third party. They don't necessarily work for the bank. They don't work for the buyer's agent or the listing agent. Their job is just to strictly come in and verify that the price you are paying for the house is justified by the market. So it's worth what you're paying for it. So there's three options that would happen there. The appraiser either says it's not worth what you're paying for it, so it's too low. So that gives you the option to negotiate with the seller. Second option, it comes back at value. That's great. And then the third option, it comes in high. And so then you actually have instant equity. Equity it just means that you got a good deal. It's worth more than what you paid for it. And now all of those options can actually come back with what's called conditions to fund the loan, meaning the lender or something comes back saying the house needs to have this completed before we actually fund the loan. So they'll need to get those things taken care of. So generally, if there's like peeling paint or something like that, FHA loans will call that out. So there's an ongoing list, and you can actually search for those things online, general lists of things that need to get done. So I always like to do that with sellers and say, hey, we're going to walk through the house. Do you think this house can go FHA? Okay, great. Let me walk through this with you to point out some things that I've seen get called out by FHA appraisers, and then we'll take care of those. So that's it. Once the appraisal's back, the lender will then kind of wrap everything up into their loan docs, and then they send those loan documents over to your closing company, which is the title escrow company generally. Now there can be differences between a title company and an escrow company. Sometimes there are two different ones, sometimes they're the same. Or if it's an estate sale, or sellers might be going through a divorce or something like that, a lawyer might be covering the closing for it too. So regardless of who it is, we'll know who that is, and all those documents get sent to that person to then notarize it and have all parties sign the documents. So closing is a three-part process. So you've got signing, and then the funding, which means once you're done signing, then it goes to the lender back to verify everything's signed, good to go. Then they release the funds to the closing department, and then they record. So once the funds have been dispersed, and then it sends out to the recording office at the county to record, and they're good to go. So I know I kind of moved through a lot of that quickly. I'll have some not some slides, but I'll have some titles as we're talking about each thing show up on the screen while we're going through this. But I hope that's helpful for you guys. I know it's a lot, and really the whole purpose is if you didn't listen to all of it, I don't blame you, because that's the point of an agent, is we're here to help you through the whole thing, and we know what we're doing. We're the professionals. So yeah, that's all I got for you for part 2 of our October series. Next week we'll have an inspector on, and we'll sort of have a forum about that stuff. So
sweet.
Rita,
come get your coupon.